it's like tiny amount of businesses that actually do this. Yeah, we see it on LinkedIn, etc., but it's very, very tiny. So there's
Yes.
still a lot of businesses that have to implement this, but we are definitely headed towards a future where it's inevitable that humans and the AI agents will work together.
Hello and welcome to Stories and Lessons. My name is Amy Ebert and I'm your host for today's podcast. Most businesses today are burning out trying to scale with outdated cold email tactics, clunky software, and bloated sales teams that eat into margins and stall growth. But in today's episode, I'm sitting down with Frank Sondors, who scaled to $3 million in annual recurring revenue with a completely fresh approach. He breaks down how AI agents, smart systems, and a lean team helped him close deals, dodge spam filters, and dominate his niche fast. So if you want a better way to scale in 2025, stick around. And hey, do you want to build brand authority and visibility without the overwhelm? Head over to 10xoncamera.com and jump on the wait list for our next masterclass. Link below. Frank, okay, I'm looking at your background and all this super cool stuff that you've done, and you've definitely had some pivots in your career as an adult. And so if you don't mind, just kind of familiarize our audience with you a little bit, go back, do a little backstory about your pivots as all these different, like literally each piece could be its own podcast. So we'll do our best at putting it all together today. All right.
So
let's hear.
I had a little career, over 10 years. So I don't know, I'm 37 right now. So definitely had a bit of career. So I finished my degree in international relations and security, and I thought I'm gonna work for like NATO and go into politics, etc. But that just never happened. When I realized the type of people I'm gonna be working with, and it wasn't my cup of tea. Essentially, I'm all about efficiency. I'm always about sort of execution. Everything I do, I did some, when I work in retail or in a nightclub as a bartender, whatever, like I was always about doing a really good job and at the highest possible sort of efficiency. That's the type of person I was always. Like, think of it like a semi-AI agent. But then I realized that the people around me, they didn't want to really be very effective at their job, etc. So this is why I left the public sector realm and I joined Google. So Google is a fantastic place to join to start your sort of it's called your digital career, because you get trained. I got like 6 weeks of onboarding, but all the Google products, became really good at this stuff. And it was great. You tell people how to use Google search and spend more money in Google ads, stuff like that. But so most of my career, over 10 years, I've been in customer facing roles. So sales, customer success. But really in the early days, it was really looking after customers and making them successful. So think of it as account management, maybe, or customer success, strategic partnerships, whatever, all the same. And then inevitably what happened was when I moved from Dublin to London, and I worked for this company called Black Crow. They're based out of New York, and they do the old school AI stuff, machine learning. They still exist, very cool company. And there my boss told me, hey, listen, Frank, you are not an account manager. You are a goddamn sales machine. How about you try sales for a quarter, and then if it doesn't work out, you can always go back being an account manager. So I did try it for a quarter, and I never looked back. With all the typically, when they join sales versus customer success, you earn a ton more money if you're really good in sales. And that's exactly what happened. So I never looked back from a paycheck standpoint, from the standpoint of that it gives me dopamine hits every time I close a deal, like all these things that, is exactly why you're in sales, right? If you enjoy sales, you want to be there for the rest of your life. So, and then my last gig, I was leading a sales team of about 50 individuals. Back in the days, it was growth at all costs. We have to grow. So I hired a lot of people, had 20 plus SDRs, 10 plus account execs, and a bunch of other people. And I was scaling a company from C to Series A, and then I exited because I thought to myself, also back at that stage, is, hey, we're building all this sales pipeline across email and cold calling and a bunch of different ways by just hiring more humans. So more humans meant more pipeline, but I always thought to myself, why wouldn't we just have significantly fewer humans building more pipeline? Why would we just, because typically there's this sort of stat that I share, which is for every 10 salespeople that you hire, only one person is natural. That's also best case out of 10. And then 2 to 3 people sort of can be coached, trained up to be very close to the person that's sort of natural, And then 60% is what I typically call the deadwood, the people that should not be in sales. They're not accretive to your organization. They definitely, you need to hire them to help you hit your pipeline target or revenue target, but they're not really accretive. They're not really contributing to a significant enough level, but you still need them there because you're not going to hit your target, right? Some people will say it's, the 20% of the people in sales, bring in 80% of the revenue. You can also look at it that way, but it doesn't matter. So there's always this dilemma, and all the software and all the process in the companies is built around bigger sales teams, because bigger sales teams means more revenue. And so we're shaking up the space, and I've decided to, with the two co-founders that I've found through YC Matchmaking, is to change this whole thing and help companies to build more sales pipeline with the least possible headcount. So it's a very challenging. And just to kind of sum it up, so in the first year, we just scaled from $0 to $3 million, from 3 co-founders to 40 employees, profitable, have thousands of customers, predominantly in the US. And really, we went down the channel for now, was what we call the email channel, kind of nailing that down, specifically around the space of cold email, making sure we deliver the emails really well, because there's a huge problem with Google and Microsoft doing more and more policing around which emails get into the inbox, which don't get into the inbox, etc. So yeah.
And that's one of the things I wanted to kind of go dive into a little bit, because I see that so much where it seems like email deliverability is one of the biggest things. I mean, you can have the most beautiful, perfect email, but if they don't get it, then it really doesn't matter, right? So what are some things that you've learned with doing that? There's so many things that you just went over that I want to go into a little deeper, but now that you're on that one, we can dive into that a little bit with what are some of the, you talked about Google and Microsoft in particular, right? They're just kind of changing just making it harder for just spam, essentially. They want to just crack down on spam. Just go a little deeper into that a little bit and what you're doing to kind of overcome that.
Around Google and Microsoft, so what they're really going after is what's called the bad actors. And actually, these are it's less about the spammers, it's about the phishing attempts. It's about ransomware, like really bad stuff in email. Mm-hmm. So in order to crack down on that, it will also impact anybody that sends unsolicited emails, essentially trying to generate business. And so there's definitely, an impact to the businesses that just generate a lot of meetings through cold email. So yes, it is getting tougher and tougher. So if we just take some random metric, let's call it open rate reply rates, they will tank for the organization. So it used to be much easier to be sending emails 3 years ago. Today, it's very, very, very tough. And it's as difficult, essentially, as running Google Ads campaigns, doing the bidding, etc. The only difference is that if you're going to fail in Google Ads, I mean, it's going to be very expensive. It's like a bottomless hole of money where you could keep chucking, Google's going to, keep charging you. Whereas actually sending emails is very, very inexpensive. So for typically for every dollar that you invest in email, the return is $36. But it has to work. Right? The deliverability has to be there. So for me, deliverability, or what I call success in email, really lies in 4 pillars. So where do you need to invest your time in? And there's literally these 4 areas. So this is why it's a bit tricky. So on one hand, it's the copy. What goes into the email copy? So making sure you don't have heavy HTML, you don't have a gazillions of links, etc. This is exactly what Google or Microsoft or anti-spam softwares are looking at, and where they're trying to filter you out. So, and naturally, you want to make sure you're writing a really great copy that's relevant, personalized, and everything, so that the user's also less likely to click on the spam, mark your email spam, right? So do, everything you can, because people are fatigued with emails. They get a lot of emails, and they're very, very trained to be clicking the spam button. But if your email's good, and if it's the right prospect, then they're unlikely to mark your spam. So that goes into the second pillar. Second pillar is targeting the right people. So still, there's a lot of people today that just get lists wherever, and they just blast everybody on the list. Yeah. And they don't understand that there's repercussions of, if you're sending email to the wrong people, what will happen is they'll mark you as spam. It's essentially, then it's hurting your overall ability. So what needs to happen these days is just be a nice human. Essentially, send great emails to great, good people which are in your target audience. And if you don't believe they're part of your audience, just get rid of them. Because sending email to the wrong people really harms your overall ability, and all your campaign will tank. So the next thing, so targeting is number 2. And number 3 is using the right software to send emails. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you don't use something like MailChimp, which is designed for newsletters to send cold emails. But we are still transitioning customers from MailChimp over to Salesforce. Some of them still use MailChimp for cold emails. This is probably the worst case example. You're transitioning stuff from MailChimp over to us. But there's other softwares that essentially don't invest heavily into the topic of email deliverability. They believe that the topic of email deliverability lies with the customer rather than with the software, whereas we believe that to solve the deliverability problem, we have to solve it for the customers, because the customer is unable to solve their own problems. So maybe some examples. So typically, let's say if we talk to a company or a founder, they don't know much about deliverability at all, so they are unable to solve their own problems. Then if they have some sort of engineering team, the engineering team also doesn't know about, the deliverability problem from a technical standpoint. And then there's no headcount ever typically for the topic of email deliverability. So hence the software has to solve it. And a lot of sort of the legacy softwares that exist in the space, and they're very big, they don't focus on this topic. It's a customer's problem, they have to solve it. And then the final thing is, which is just applies to the channel of cold email, is what's called email infrastructure. So we talked briefly about it. So the spam reports that you potentially will get if you're targeting the wrong people with a bad copy, etc. So if you're going to get a lot of spam reports against your primary business domain, what will eventually happen is then all your emails will start landing in spam. And then, you sending an email to a customer, to invest, etc., it will land in spam. You don't want that to happen. So you need to safeguard your domain. That means do not hold emails from your primary business domain. So you need to set up these sort of what's called permutations of your primary. So let's say we have a domain called salesforce.com. We will get a domain. So we will not send an email from salesforce.com. We'll send an email from teamsalesforce.com, get salesforce.com, try salesforce.com, and so on and so forth. Right? So you set up these, the batch of domains with your company brand name, and then if somebody checks it out in Chrome or Safari, it redirects back to your website. But don't send from your primary any form of cold emails, only inbound emails. So only if people sign up to your website.
So would you say would you recommend it all to get like a completely different domain then for that, or just okay, so completely different but maybe sounding a little similar?
Yeah, you just have a prefix or postfix, so, team Salesforce, get Salesforce, and so on, right? So .com. So that it's very important that you get .com domains, not any other ones, because the whole internet was built on .com domains, like Salesforce.com, etc. Right? So if you buy other domains, people become suspicious. So let's say .biz or .org, whatever,
Yes.
And then people will start. Essentially, they're more likely to report you for spam. Just get the mainstream domains. So that's the setup. So 4 pillars, right? Copy, targeting, using the right software to send the emails, and then having infrastructure. Without infrastructure, there's no way that you'll be successful, because it doesn't matter how great your targeting will be or copy, you will still get spam reports. And Google and Microsoft, they penalize you pretty bad these days. So there's no way around this. And so yes, there's also a misconception in the space that you can use what's called the subdomains. So that the subdomain being mail.salesforce.com.
Yes.
Subdomains are only for inbound related traffic. So I'll give you an example. Let's say on inbound. So let's say you're a business and you have a lot of users and you send them a lot of emails, whatever. There's one type of email, could be newsletter email, right? So it could be newsletter.salesforce.com. And so you create a subdomains for a specific email type of traffic. So this email type of traffic or the reputation doesn't impact the other email type of traffic. So it could be then another one could be notifications.salesforce.com. It could be payments or invoices right. So essentially these are different streams of traffic. So it doesn't, one subdomain doesn't impact the other one. So that is totally fine. But the reason why you can't use this in cold emailing is because if you would use your primary domain and you would then reach out to another business, when you are being reported for spam or you're about to be blacklisted in a big network, it will blacklist the top level domain rather than subdomain. So that means all the subdomains will burn, or all the subdomains will be impacted. So because if the top level one is impacted, all the subs get impacted as well. So this is why you shouldn't be using these subdomains. You should be only using additional top level domains.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so then what do you guys, how does Salesforce help with that then?
So we have quite a few products. So think of it like a bit like an Apple ecosystem. So you pick different products. There's an ecosystem type feeling. So like Apple Apple has Apple ID. We have Forge IDs. You can log into different softwares. So on the infrastructure front, we do have 3 products that provision infrastructure. They all have their own servers, registrars, etc. Some customers, they send sometimes thousands of emails on a daily basis. They have a requirement. Then we recommend always to set up 2 email infrastructure products, because just like you're having these multiple domains where you dilute the traffic emails across multiple domains, you can also then have another layer to diversify, which is the domain level. So because if you use 2 different domain registrars, it's also good for deliverability. And then say if you use Google and Microsoft, right, 2 different type of email service providers, then that is another way how you can de-risk having deliverability issues. because you're spreading the load of, say, spam reports across multiple, domains, multiple services, so on and so forth. So we provide the infrastructure, we provide the sending stuff. The sending happens from Salesforce.ai, which is our core product. So from there, this is where you send the emails, where we maximize the deliverability. Within that product, we have our also own agent called Agent Frank, named after me, being in sales for over a decade. And then, so that's the execution part. The data part sits in the product called LeadsForge.ai. LeadsForge.ai is like ChatGPT or like Perplexity. You just vibe searching for leads, essentially. You essentially, typing in, I'm looking for VP sales in Atlanta, and you get VP sales in Atlanta, right? So, and what happens behind the scenes, we're hooking up to multiple databases in the world to then get you as many VP sales in Atlanta as possible. So you typically type in your ideal customer profile in that. So what else we're missing? And the copy part. Okay, so the copy part is being solved in Salesforce. So how do we craft a unique email to everybody? Is the following way. So you outline your value proposition of your business within the software, so in Salesforce. So what do you sell? Who is this for? So what's the ideal customer profile here? What is the pain that you're solving? What is the cost of inaction if they don't, take any action on this particular problem, so on and so forth. So we have a good context about why the heck you're reaching out to people. And then additionally, you can upload within a knowledge base that exists in Salesforce, your sales playbook, pricing, FAQs. So that's an additional context about your business. And then, so we call that the seller data. So we have good context about your business, and then we need to match this seller data with what we call the buy data. So what do we know about that person when we're reaching out to them? So we go and do web crawling. So we go and check out the website. We go and check out the LinkedIn profile and so on and so forth. So then we programmatically stitch these two data sets for every individual that we reach out. And then we apply a large language model on top of that, so AI, to then compute a highly relevant and personalized email. So if somebody's wondering, how does that look like? Just go to agentfrank.ai, and you can literally type in your email address of your business, your LinkedIn profile, and you're going to get a unique email. So that's how we solve. So the reason why this is important, apart from driving better results, is if you send templates today to your prospect, and you receive spam reports by the prospect, well, Google does, as an example, Google uses Gemini to correlate spam reports with what's in the content. And then what will happen is, if you're receiving quite a few spam reports against that email template that you send out to your prospect, then your emails will start landing in spam, not because of the domain or the IP or whatever, but because of the template, is that content that you keep on sending at scale. Google sees that across its network, that the same copy is landing in the mailbox, and typically is being reported as spam. So by default, it starts landing in spam. So one way to solve that is to craft a unique email to every person. And then there's another way, which doesn't cost anything, is called spin tags. Spin tags, you can Google it. What it does is it randomizes. So you're saying the same thing, but using different words. So for example, hey, hi, hello, instead of just hi. So, and you want to do that for at least 50% of the initial email that you're sending out, because there's typically at least a couple follow-up emails that you send out, because the first email of the thread naturally dictates whether you land in the primary mailbox or not. So yeah, that's on the copy front.
That's something I just want to reiterate real quick is that first email. This is like, you're not doing this for every email. This is like that first one more so. I mean, obviously when they get back to you, it's going to be, you're going to have different replies for that. But this first email is very important, right?
The first email is, what dictates if you're landing in spam or not. So you have to do everything you can not to land in spam. So that means, hey, we discussed you could either use spin tagging or AI to make sure that the copy, it doesn't look the same as the previous copy, right? That's been sent to somebody else, right? So very important. Then making sure you don't have any links in there. No links, no heavy HTML. So even having your right? So people love to put their headshot in the signature. That is also harming the deliverability. And the last thing that we observe, so anything that is, everything that looks like that is static is bad for deliverability. So an example is a telephone number is really bad for deliverability. So the same telephone number, right, is in so many signatures at scale. You're getting thousands of emails. And Google just looks at the pattern. Oh, wow, there's a code, like whatever. He doesn't realize it's a phone number. There's a code, and that same code, whatever, the same telephone number is in so many emails. So you have to be kind of like try and remove as much as you can in the signature. So definitely you want to have your website in there. So for example, the way I would do it is, that's just a recommendation, so it's not actually a link, is let's say, so it says Frank Sondors, CEO of The Forge, and then I don't have a domain that's hyperlinked. So the way I do it is like Salesforge, open brackets, dot, close brackets, AI, right? So then with that sort of logic, it's not really a link, right? But the person understands that I can go to Salesforge to check out the website, right? So
That's
yeah. Let's go, with the signature. But yeah, think of it this way: like, you just try and remove as much of the static stuff in the copy as you can, in order to improve your deliverability.
Yeah, and people are just going and getting just massive lists and just sending a bunch of stuff out, and just kind of going from there. So I love that, how that's like they'll kind of marry your software will do that. We'll take the LinkedIn profile and the AI and then make it all just a little bit unique for each person. So it's just handled, right?
Yeah. So you want to do that programmatic, because, that's what I used to do. In my career, I would, look at LinkedIn, like, what does a sales rep do? They go on LinkedIn, they go on the website, and they're trying to figure out, well, okay, what could I do to write to Bob and make him respond, So this is what I sell, right? And this is what Bob is all about. That's his title. Maybe there's something in his LinkedIn profile. That's what the AI is trying, just figuring out. So yes, you could say that, very good sales rep will be always better than any form of AI or AI agent. But the thing is that the AI is just better than an average sales rep. But the AI isn't better than the top sales rep. Right? So definitely the goal is to ingest AI and use AI to make the best salespeople in the organization even produce more output, or help them, with different, repetitive tasks. So yes, we have also our own AI agent. This is, my biggest recommendation to any business these days is to start implementing agentic systems in your organization. So whatever your problem is, so let's say I have a problem with something in my business. The first thing I think about is like, okay, I want to go out and hire the best AI agent to solve this problem. That means
that's the first way to solve it. You're saying is the best AI agent, not the best person. You're saying go straight for the, okay. All right.
Yes, you have a problem in your business.
Okay.
And I'm advising today is like, you have a problem, and today there are already companies that have these very, very good off-the-shelf AI agents that can be used, and you can plug it in, and within weeks you see a ton of value, and it's very, very cost-effective to run this, operates 24/7, whatever. If this doesn't exist, right? So if there is no off-the-shelf AI agent in the market today, then what I typically say is you have to custom build this agent on automation software. For example, there are softwares like Zapier or Make.com or N8N. So we use N8N as the most sophisticated one out of the three. And so we build custom workflows behind the scenes, because naturally we can't build, an off-the-shelf, or there's not yet an agent for anything out there, but you can build an agent for, one of your use case, one of the use cases you have internally. And so N8N is a fantastic sort of backbone automation engine that you can use and build out various agents. So I'll give you an example of what we do. So one thing, so for example, if you're going to sign up to our website today, literally within 1 minute, you'll receive a WhatsApp message from me saying, hey, Amy, this is Frank from The Forge. Let me know if you got any questions. And that's all I'm going to do. So that's powered by N8N, right? So it has no AI. Yes, it's a little nice template, but I call that sales service. And why do we do that? Is because on WhatsApp, so something like WhatsApp, we have X, the reply rate, versus an inbound email, onboarding email.
Okay, right. I've actually was talking to somebody about that recently as well, that owns one of those AI agencies. And he said, he's like the same thing. He's like, I get so many emails. He's like, I don't even read them. Like, it's just like the text message is kind of like the way to go forward. You can't do that cold, though. You can't do the cold emails like that. But like you're saying, if anybody's opted in, have the SMS in place or WhatsApp or some version with that, right?
Because it's a pattern interrupt. Think to yourself, when was the last time you signed up to any website, something got a WhatsApp message? So for me, it's never. Literally zero. So
are you seeing WhatsApp is even more better results than just the straight SMS?
I haven't tested SMS, if I'm very honest. My take is that, so, I treat WhatsApp like I chat with my friends on WhatsApp and some, friendlies in space, whatever. WhatsApp is I would never do that via SMS, because SMS is a bit too official. Let's go that way. How do you make it more casual? Let's go that way. And that's WhatsApp.
Okay.
And yes, the problem with WhatsApp is not everybody potentially uses WhatsApp, but I think So because, not everybody gets the WhatsApp message, right? But only if they have WhatsApp. But in our case, the percentage is very high, which makes sense then to use WhatsApp, right? Because most people will get it. And if not, we have solution two. Solution two is, we definitely have, a trial for one of the products. And anyway, you can explore the product. But if you're going to sign up today, and if you don't end up buying anything from us within 7 days, we'll check what happened with you on the app. Did you have any conversation with us, or was there any demo, etc.? And so we're running this AI agent that sort of, let's call it qualifies or checks what you've done in the Forge ecosystem. And if nothing happened, then Agent Frank, the voice AI agent, will call you once a week for 3 weeks. And we'll try and it will say, hey, Amy, how's it going? This is Agent Frank from the Forge. I was wondering, how was your experience with Salesforce or whatever? Was there something missing? Why didn't you end up buying, etc.? And so some people freak out. Some people love to have a chat with the AI agent, but we're an AI agent company, so we have an AI agent. So for us, it's normal to be using AI agent to call. And there are a bunch of spaces or niches in the US where it totally makes sense to use a voice agent. Let's say, I don't know, in the any place where you typically have to call up. So it's a fantastic place to use a voice AI agent, and you can do that legally on what's called the inbound channel. You can't do that from a cold calling standpoint. So cold calling in the US and Europe is illegal to be using any form of autonomous systems, but it's probably legal on the inbound front. So just kind of putting it out there, making sure that people don't go crazy and start cold calling, using AI agents. But we just launched it a couple of weeks ago. But we're always thinking about, okay, if the users been in the buying, we want to find out why. But I don't want to use my sales team or anybody in my team to be doing these calls. It's just generally too expensive. But you want to find out, is there a leaky bucket? Did something happen? And, if an AI agent would call me, I wouldn't mind having a chat with the AI agent. For me, it's cool.
Yeah, try it out.
The AI agent calls me every day. Maybe I only had one call probably ever from a company where there was the AI agent was calling me. And it's pretty cool. Like, you want to chat and you want to figure out. So if somebody's wants to have a chat with the AI agent, a cool one where it will try and help you with whatever problem you have in your life, go to a website called Bordy.ai. Bordy.ai is an AI agent where Bordy will call you and Bordy will ask you, what's your challenge right now? What's the biggest problem that you're facing right now? And you'll say whatever. So we said, okay, we want to raise a Series A, for example, as next round. Whereas, okay, I know Mike and John, Series A investors that may be investing in your space. Would you want me to connect with them? So what connects you to people. So pretty cool. Right? So you can just, whatever problem you have and you want the AI to call you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, and then from then on, I was like, that's pretty cool. I also want to implement, an AI agent in my business. So that's when the inspiration came from, actually, to implement voice AI agents in my business. And now we have cloned my voice. We're saying this is Agent Frank, right? It's pretty cool. And people want to adopt the system. So we actually don't sell that ourselves, right? It's just something that we build in NA10. So this is some of the cool stuff. But then going back to these problems, so then number 3 thing. So option was, the first solution is get an off-the-shelf AI agent. Option 2, build something custom if you can. Typically,
so real quick on the custom part.
Yeah.
If somebody is not great at building it themselves, okay, so let's say this doesn't exist, and now the second step is build it yourself. What steps would they take? I know you can go to Zapier and you can go to these things to do it, but if somebody's not familiar with those, like I've done those from scratch myself, so I know that some people are probably just not going to do it unless they know there's some.
Yeah, so you need to hire a freelancer or actually an agency to do that. Like, call them NA10 people, whatever. So, they are definitely on the market and they build these things for companies. So, yes,
so you would hire maybe somebody to build this specific thing for you in one of these softwares, correct? If they don't know how to do it themselves.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So let's say in our case, we have a guy. He's literally, you could call him a growth hacker, but all he does is NA10 all day long. Essentially, he builds workflows for our business every single week, somewhere between 5 to 10 workflows, sometimes one if it's like very, very complex. And his job is to kill repetitive stuff in our business. So heavily kind of geared right now towards revenue. But yeah, his job is just to kill anything that is repetitive. So we kind of feed ideas in this channel called NA10 channel. We just kind of tag the bot and say, hey, it would be cool to get rid of this or, do that. And then he comes up with a solution, builds the agent, etc. So that's what but yeah, typically people don't have the skill set to build themselves because you need to know stuff.
And will he build it out on the platform as well, or just tell you the workflow and what to do, or will he actually input it into the system as well? Like, like you can ask for workflows and they'll tell you what to do, but will this actually put the workflow in for you as well, install it also?
Yes, yeah, he does everything end to end. So,
okay.
So there are people that just do this end to end, just tell them what needs to be built, and so they'll try and come up with the best solution to build this to kill the repetitive stuff.
It's kind of like people that make websites or whatever. Like they'll do the whole thing for you. They won't just tell you the flow of it. They'll do or funnels or whatever else. It's the same with this type of an AI agent, right?
Yeah, it's end to end. Yeah, I mean, there's other examples. Even when we say book a meeting with a prospect, it will give you a full-on summary about the company, who are we speaking to, which are potentially the most best fit product, potentially whatever. So there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do just to kill. So think of it this way. So if you're doing something repetitively every single week, that's an example of something that could be killed. So this is where is this like an NA10 thing that we could just get rid of this? That's the type of conversations that we have. So we are in this mindset of killing anything that's repetitive in our business to make us sort of leaner, right? Yeah. So then if it's not something that can be solved through any form of automation, AI, etc., then yes, you need to go into what are called the human options. Then option 3, a solution is get a freelancer, consultant, coach, whatever. The reason why you go with that option is because there's a problem in businesses these days where you need to train up people, and that takes time or whatever. Sometimes it's just much better. Like time is money. Sometimes it's just better to plug in a resource, an agent, freelancer, and use that, especially if it's like something that's short term, to solve your problem. And then the last resort is to actually hire a person in your business. So yeah, it used to be, the first thing that you kind of think about it today
as an employee, right? You had to have an employee first. Yeah.
Yes. And now it's the last because training and, like I'll give you an example. Let's say if we have to onboard, let's say somebody in sales today. So we didn't onboard somebody yesterday. So we have to train them on the domain. So the niche that we're in, explain all our competitors, how we're different, right? To feed the content and train the human. Then we need to make sure they're good on sales. And then we need to make sure they understand AI and how AI works. There's a lot that you need to train a human today, a lot of content. And then, just like with any, with salespeople go, they may not, survive, whatever. Anyway, so this is why there's a high risk with humans that, there's still a lot of companies that, they leave, the humans leave, or they, you will fire them, or they're going on holiday, or they just don't feel like it, whatever, there's all these what I call human problems that you have. And this is why, I talk to a lot of business leaders today and founders, etc., CEOs. They're very excited about the agents. Yes, they're not perfect. Yes, they have flaws. But then so do humans have flaws.
Yeah, right.
Which path do you want to go down with? And I see the smartest, most profitable companies use heavily agentic systems, heavily. And then typically naturally companies
you need that because especially in the beginning too, you need to be able to have some level of momentum. If it's all going out towards paying employees, training employees, like finding the right employees, then only like you're saying, if it's Pareto principles in place, then, you might get 2 out of 10 and then you got to do it again. And it's just so hard to get off the ground, or you're doing it all yourself. So this way you can kind of duplicate yourself a little bit too, right? Especially when you have an agent that's just like you.
Yeah, I always say you can get a copy of me for a fraction of the price. I mean, I'm on a personal mission to replace myself because every time all the time I was in sales, I was building my own pipeline, etc. I just want to dump my know-how into an agent and just let it do the thing. Yeah, I mean, there's even moments where I'm surprised. Wow, that's such a great email that the agent wrote. I would probably never write an email like that, like in this particular way, right?
Yes.
I was like, this is much better than me writing an email. So if you're getting to a point where you're very good at your job, and then you realize an AI agent can do the job as well as you do, if not right, and then better, you start understanding that, damn, I need to implement this ASAP. So
yeah, the time, right? The time, because then you could maybe do the next bigger thing also. That's going to, the parts that are going to move your business forward and grow it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but the thing is that only less than 1% of businesses have implemented any sort of automations or, agents systems right now in the world. So it's like tiny amount of businesses that actually do this. Yeah, we see it on LinkedIn, etc., but it's very, very tiny. So there's
Yes.
still a lot of businesses that have to implement this, but we are definitely headed towards a future where it's inevitable that humans and the AI agents will work together. And that is really the future. It's not like we are trying to replace humans. But yes, some tasks will be done by AI agents, but really what will happen is like you can't remove humans at full. There's no way. So if you understand that, but you also understand you need AI agents to have efficiencies, your better efficiencies or better output levels, or whatever the need is. If you fuse this together, this is where the magic happens. And to orchestrate this, every business is unique, right? So orchestrate this for every business. It's little, just like people used to talk about digital transformation. Now this is a slightly different transformation. This is like agentic, like you're introducing agents in your business to make you leaner and meaner.
And you talked about how your business grew. Was it in 12 months? You grew from startup to 3 million ARR in that amount of time. And then obviously tell us about that and then growth that you personally did and then the AI agents and how that helped you to be able to grow so fast. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, you see more and more businesses that are being able to do that today, like exponential growth in the first year, something that you've never seen in the past. And that's all unlocked due to AI, due to, yeah, I mean, there's huge demand generally for AI systems, whatever. So there's other companies that even make a lot more money than we do. But yeah, in the first year, we scaled to about $1 million. Without any employees, we scaled actually to $1 million in annual recurring revenue. So we didn't hire anybody. And then the first hires that we really had were engineers and people in support because we had so many support tickets. Because when you have so many customers, you suddenly have a lot of support tickets. So we had still no people in marketing and sales or account management up until $2 million in annual recurring revenue. So everything was running literally on me and my gazillions of engineers and support people. So I used to do all the sales and looking after customers, etc. And then after 2 million, we started to hire people in the go-to-market because it's like there's a point in time where you're like, damn, I can't be having like 20 calls every day, Monday to Friday, and also talking WhatsApp and whatever. There's a lot that goes on. So essentially, you can't scale to 10 million. This is like we have like a typical case. There's other companies that can even scale to 100 million with 6 employees. But these are like outlier cases. I think we're more of a success definitely story, but we're definitely not a mega outlier case.
Right. Like it's doable if you're willing to put in the hard work and you have, bring in some of the right people and have some AI and that kind of a thing, right? Obviously you have a lot of experience, but, people can shoot for these higher goals in way less time.
Yes. I mean, we used a lot of automations already from day zero. I became, my experience working in sales, etc. That's why that's why we're profitable also since day zero, because we were just very lean and mean from the get-go. But you understand that as you're progressing sort of, past the 3 million mark, you need more people because there's more customers and you're not going to build $100 million company, whatever, just on your own, which is a typical thing. There are outlier cases where you can even build a $100 million company and there's like 10 employees only in that company.
Yeah, that's like, definitely an outlier. Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting story, but not easy to duplicate.
Yes, it's very, very difficult to duplicate. These are always AI companies that whatever they sell, there's no support, like nothing. It's just people just buy like crazy at high volumes. But in our case, to make our customers successful, we actually have to talk to them. There's no way to remove the human from because we're so close to the revenue of the customers. Like they always have gazillions of questions, how the product works, whatever. You cannot just remove the humans from the equation. They always have questions. They always want to ask something. There's always problems, whatever.
And humans are the ones answering the questions.
Yes. Yeah. So interesting thing is that on chat support, so it's fully manned by humans. So they are essentially, when it comes, like, where do the humans come into play? It's actually from the moment that a demo actually happens. So we do believe, let's say within the sales pipeline, we do believe that agents make the biggest difference is kind of the top of the funnel and like mid of the funnel. So how do we drive demand to the business? Because humans are really bad actually at that particular stage. Everybody's very good. Like, Frank, once I have the prospect on the call, I'm converting everybody. Yes, but I have a problem to get these prospects on the call, which is a very typical thing.
So their biggest problem often is just to get them on the call.
Yeah, they're really bad at that part. They just don't know, like, They just don't know how to make people, how to generate meetings. They just don't know. And this is why there's this whole space. There's a lot of agencies that generate meetings. There's a lot of software in the space, etc. It is very difficult problem to be solved because sometimes, it's not just about emailing people. It's also about messaging them on LinkedIn. It's about giving them a cold call, and sometimes it's about showing ads and making sure you have a good website. Some people say, Frank, I want to send 1,000 emails to my prospects, but they have such a really bad website. This is particularly funny when they say, Frank, I want to use Agent Frank to drive a lot of demand for my business. And then you look at their website and it's just horrible. So it's not like this magical Agent Frank will solve all
the problems.
Because if you can't even have a decent website that we can use, because what will happen is Agent Frank will reach out to a prospect. The prospect will be interested. What do I do typically? I go on the website, have a look at the website. I go and maybe have a look at the LinkedIn profiles, whatever. There's the presence online. And if it looks decent, I'll go and reply back to the email and say, okay, cool, let's have a meeting. But many people just don't have the basics right, even within the business.
So you're saying it doesn't even have to be like this top-notch, top-of-the-line thing. Decent. They're not even there's a low percentage that even has it already put together just decently, right?
No, it's just that there are customers, and there's many of them that just don't have just decent websites, even. But they definitely want meetings, etc. And then I ask them, well, before you think about getting meetings, why don't you get a normal website?
And what do they say?
Oh, it hasn't never been a priority. My CEO, whatever. My CEO is very busy. My CEO, we were always generating meetings somehow without a good website. And it's like, okay, well, now you want to use an AI agent and you want to reach out to prospects cold, and like a normal, human being, a buyer will go out and will do some, due diligence, and we'll check out who the hell you are.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, like in our case, it's very important that on LinkedIn we look very good, right? Because we sell to a lot of founders and a lot of salespeople, and they're on LinkedIn. They're gonna go check us out, etc. So we have to look good on there, right? We have to look like a company that knows how to generate pipeline, and we're credible, and we have customers and case studies, whatever. So there has to be that presence, because everything in marketing is not just about this one channel. It's about many channels working together. Because I'll give you an example. I don't know, if I would be, let's take a silly example. If I would be Elon Musk and I would send you a cold email, of course you're going to respond to me, right? Because you have the brand presence,
Exactly.
This example, right? But you have presence and you have brand awareness, and if you've been showing ads, or you have maybe some SEO stuff going on, you are more likely to receive responses. It's easier for the agent to receive response. So this is why these multiple things have to, work together. So I call it like an integrated marketing approach.
Yes. Yeah, that totally makes sense, because it's just and that's very interesting if these are businesses that have CEOs and CMOs and things, and they don't understand that part about even the website presence.
Maybe things have worked for them in the past, and then they're like, we don't want to spend 10K on, redesigning the website. I was like, okay, well, I wouldn't buy from you. I'm not asking you to build the best website in the world, but there are definitely websites where this has been designed in 1990s or something, early 2000s, and you can see it's really, really old, but it has worked for them.
Yes.
The reason why they're reaching out and why they were exploring our tech is because nothing's working right now. And it's like, okay, times have changed. It's just that, there's businesses that definitely don't change at all, some of them. Things will tank, just like email deliverability. The rules of the game have changed by Microsoft and Google. And that's why a lot of people come to us and say, Frank, our emails don't work anymore. Everything's landing in spam. Cold email is dead, whatever, And I was like, the rules of the games have changed, so you need to use the right tech and whatever, all the stuff that we have discussed. And people don't change anything. They just expect, things used to work 10 years ago, they still work today. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. It doesn't matter whether it's the email channel or cold calling or Google Ads or whatever, SEO. SEO is also massively changing today. These days, it's all about me trying to figure out how do I pop up more in ChatGPT or Perplexity. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going and reaching out to Wikipedia to have my page on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is the number one source for ChatGPT and Perplexity, etc. Okay, cool. Then what's the number two source for ChatGPT and Perplexity? It's actually Reddit. okay, now I'm starting to think as a business owner, okay, how do I become more visible on Reddit so that ChatGPT picks it up a bit more, right? And it sort of, references me or the business, whatever. So it's things like that. Even doing a podcast or anything on YouTube, like ChatGPT loves stuff on YouTube.
That's what I was thinking. And YouTube would be one of them too.
So it's things like that, right? So, and this is what you need to think about. And like, how do you generate demand? It's not just sending some emails or using AI agent, etc. It's holistically, you have to think about where do your ideal customers spend their time. If they try GPTing, well, if they're trying to figure out what is the best AI agent in the world, maybe they're putting that into ChatGPT. What is the best, I don't know, software for call emails? Like it's things like that you need to influence. And for us, it's a bit tougher.
ChatGPT, did you hear that they're like down today too? I bet people are just freaking out without it. We're like, what? What do we know what to do and say without it? Did you hear that it's down today?
Yes. Naturally, it impacts our business as well because we all rely on OpenAI. This is why, anybody that's building in the AI space always have this fallback on, I don't know, Claude or whatever the other LLMs. Yeah, we use all of them. Like it depends on which part of the business. Yeah, it's just like when I explained the thing with multiple domains and domain registrar, etc. You need to diversify because things just go down. OpenAI just has too much demand.
Exactly. For a while, it was even really slow. For a little while there too. I don't know if they were changing some things with their model, but it was really slow. But then now it's down for a little bit.
But the interesting thing is that the tech is becoming better and cheaper. Essentially, it's only going to get better and cheaper for the customers to be using AI. As we progress. So if something sounds like, oh, it's a bit too expensive, well, guess what? It will get cheaper over time and it will get better. So like you just give it another 6 months or 12 months, things change so fast.
Yeah, so crazy. And that's the thing too, like I think this is all, a lot of it, like you're talking about people that are like, oh, no, I'm not going to change my website, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. It's just the resistance to things, but it's just like AI is one of those where it's like you're saying, it's less than 1% that are maybe maximizing it with their businesses. This is the time really to get it and utilize it in any way to facilitate the growth and take some redundancies off your table, right?
Well, because if you want your competitors will for sure, right? That's how I always think about it. So that's why you always have to stay ahead of the game. So yeah, definitely, yeah. Sorry,
thank you so much for your time. Go ahead. What now? What did you say, Frank?
No, I was just thinking about something and I lost it in my head.
Dang it. Well, let us know if it comes back. And I know you are a super busy guy, and I appreciate your time so much. And you've just so much good stuff. I'm gonna have to rewatch this so many times to get all these fabulous gold nuggets that you've been dropping for all of us. So I appreciate it. And any closing remarks? Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Yes, Frank Sondors. You can see me on LinkedIn. Pretty active on there. Though be warned, you're going to see me on LinkedIn quite frequently if you're going to connect with me. I always put that warning out. And otherwise, if you want to check out what we do, go to salesforce.ai/ecosystem. You can check a bunch of products if you need to send some emails or use AI agents, etc. Also, LinkedIn is coming very soon in a month's time. That'll be also interesting where AI agent will use your LinkedIn profile to engage with prospects. So that's some cool stuff. So we do a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, LinkedIn typically is the best place. Otherwise, you can find me anywhere else online, I guess.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Frank. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Having said that, thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you got value from what we provided, why not spread the love by sharing this episode with someone? Subscribe and follow the show so you never miss an episode. And give us a positive 5-star review or a thumbs up, depending on which platform you're currently on. For more stories and lessons, check out some of my other episodes. Thank you for showing up, and be well.